Anyhow, we've got just a huge pile of news, which we will get to in just a few minutes. But first, Lori Wallach is on the line with us, and this is news too. She is the Director of International Campaigns with Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. Tradewatch.org is the website. It's also citizen.org/trade. You can tweet her at Wallach, W-A-L-L-A-C-H, Lori, L-O-R-I, or at public_citizen or at PCGTW. Lori, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
It's always great having you on.
In the halls of Congress. And
oh my.
Lots of stuff going on around me. Pleasure to be on.
Yeah, in the proverbial belly of the beast. So Donald Trump is, one of his major campaign things, in fact, I would say probably one of the things that got him the Republican nomination and maybe even got him the White House was his opposition to so-called free trade, and specifically his opposition to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. An opposition, by the way, that I think we all should note had by that point in time morphed into the Democratic Party as well. Hillary Clinton had repudiated it. What's the latest?
Well, yesterday the news started breaking that the president had instructed some of his senior economic and trade advisors to go look into whether it made sense to try and rejoin the TPP. And the backstory of it is he was having a meeting with some farm state senators and governors who were griping about the threats of tariffs on China. They don't really care if the trade deficit with China gets fixed or if we have any manufacturing jobs. Apparently, they're worried about the prospect that in a couple of months, if there isn't a deal cut with China to balance trade, then there could be tariffs that could affect agriculture. So they were in there sort of schooling him about that, and they said, if you knew what you were doing in agriculture, you export markets, you wouldn't have ever given up on the TPP. Well, he apparently, according to all the news reports, said something like, well, I'll have my guys look into what kind of a deal we could make to get ourselves into a better kind of TPP. And the senators went out and announced that he was reconsidering TPP, and I then responded with a set of expletives that we can't repeat on the radio. However, it would be the most cynical, two-faced, flip-flopping betrayal possible.
Yeah. So essentially it looks like he's trying to placate red state senators, particularly Iowa, where the Republicans are getting some considerable heat, and it could hurt them electorally in the 2018 elections. Is that kind of the bottom line here?
Well, I think, Tom, the more I've looked into it and I've been talking to a lot of people, I think it's a classic example of the president says whatever the audience he's with wants to hear. He has a very keen sense of his audience. And so whether it means a damn thing or not remains to be seen, but within 2 or 3 hours, as the AFL-CIO presidents talked about how TPP was a very bad deal, needed to stay dead, and there was no way to be in it without betraying American workers, after basically numerous Democratic campaign operatives were popping champagne corks for the opportunity that it created, and many Democratic members of the House and Senate had issued very stark statements. The White House issued a statement saying, to clarify what the president said, when he withdrew from TPP, I will add a footnote, an agreement that was already dead in Congress, but when he withdrew from TPP, it was because it was an agreement that was bad for working Americans, blah, blah, blah. And all he was saying is he will have his top guys check out what's the better deal could be negotiated that might be worth reconsidering. So they were backpedaling at high speed. That's all fine and good. If I had to bet, Tom, I wouldn't say that they're serious about it. However, the notion of this president who spent so much time pledging to the American people that he was going to replace our failed trade policy, it's a real issue. He is basically saying what Democrats have been saying for decades. He is saying what Bernie Sanders was saying before Trump was saying it. So the fact that he came to that, he won in no small part because of that. He then touted killing TPP, even when he didn't, but he did officially bury it. And then the notion that he even be contemplating it's worth looking into how to fix it to make it acceptable, it's something like a vegetarian deciding to have a conversation about whether a hamburger is best rare or medium rare. It just shouldn't be in the vocabulary.
Yeah, and frankly, as you pointed out, I think this is really important to point out, while there have been a minority of corporate Democrats who have been in favor of these trade deals throughout the years, starting with Bill Clinton, that this has never been the official position of the Democratic Party. The Democrats, by and large, have always favored protectionism. It was one of the reasons why Bill Clinton, in 1992, nearly lost the election. Ross Perot pulling 20% of the vote away, and
That's right.
that little tidbit never gets mentioned in the corporate media, tragically. Lori, I have a question for you. Yesterday, I had a caller call up, and in fact, I'd seen the article a few days ago, I think, in either the Post or the New York Times about how, TPP and free trade is actually a wonderful thing, because if we buy things from China, we get cheap stuff, and all they get is our money. So that's like, such a benefit to us. And I walked him through this whole laborious, painful thing of, if they end up with our money, they can use that to buy us. And 1/7 of all American assets are now owned by foreigners, which means that when those assets are used, whether they're buildings, office buildings, or whether they're factories, the profits all go to China, and not just China, Germany, Japan, fill in the blanks. And that's a steady and slow draining of the wealth of America, number one. And number two, a surrender of sovereignty. It's reached such a terrible point now that we can't even make a cruise missile. We can't build a battleship without parts from China, a country that we're actually considering at some point in time we may have to go to war with, and that this is suicidal. Was that the strongest argument? And do you agree with me?
Well, you are so on to the right big picture vision of this that actually I can send your listeners, and you would enjoy looking at, a new feature we just put into our tradewatch.org, www.tradewatch.org website, which is, we actually spent a year looking into all of the Chinese investments since 2002 in the United States, in what sectors, whether it's government investments, state-owned companies, or sovereign wealth funds, or it's private sector. And what we've basically been able to see systematically, because tens of billions of dollars have gotten reinvested buying up U.S. assets, is the recycling of the trade deficit with China into the Chinese government buying up huge swaths of our economy. Tom, this is what we found. Again, this is on the front page of our website, tradewatch.org. We found that since 2002, 60%, 60%, of all of this massive billions in Chinese buying up of U.S. companies, real estate, buildings, has been done by 15 government investment funds or government state-owned companies. So it's not just Chinese companies, it is the government. So your point is spot on.
I'm on tradewatch.org. It redirected me to citizen.org/our-work/globalization-and-trade, but I'm not seeing. Well, I'll have to dig into it, Lori, because we're hitting a break. Lori Wallach, thanks so much, Lori. It's always great talking with you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being with us. Look forward to
talking again soon. Thank you.
Me too. Me too. Tradewatch.org or citizen.org/trade. You can tweet her at Wallach Lori, and serious, really important stuff. Pay attention. It's Anything Goes Friday. We'll be back with your calls.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And a big pile of the news of the day. There's just some shocking stuff going on. It starts with James Comey's new book out.